few years back, I shot a story about the small country church my mother and grandparents attended in Forrest, New Mexico. This weekend, it celebrates its 100th year in service. And as you'll see, it's a place of community, of fellowship, and worship, miles from the nearest town or store.
You don't stumble across Forrest, New Mexico by chance. Once you get there, you realize whoever named it Forrest had a sense of humor. Today, there's not much there. A couple of fire trucks, remnants of the old school, and the Forrest Community Church.
Modern technology hasn't hit us very hard. We don't have your computer programmed singing, and we don't have a computerized piano. Everything's old that's here. The floors are bare wooden floors. And I think that's the way God wants it to be right here. He just about got to that point where he was going to let them go.
Basic and bare, yet capable of cultivating the heart of a community.
When you come in, you're going to talk to your neighbors and you're going to talk about what's going on and how did the ball game go last night, and are you having baby calves yet, and how much rain did you get? That's always a big contest. How much rain did you get?
The Forrest Missionary Baptist was organized Sunday night, June 11th, 1922.
That's my grandmother, Joy Moon. She's about as close to a historian as we can find. She's been going there since 1945.
Were there a lot of options for church?
What do you mean options?
Well, was there anywhere else you could go, or was Forrest about it?
Forrest was it.
Back then, Forrest was quite the oasis in a sea of prairie grass.
It was a Methodist church, 2 Sundays a month, and it was Baptist church 2 Sundays. But we didn't hardly know who were Methodists and who were Baptists. They all got along pretty well.
Along with a vibrant church, the Forrest School kept this community close. Once the doors of the school closed, Forrest started to do the same.
We lost our school, and the people that go to school at the different places, they just kind of leave your community. And this is one thing that kind of holds it together.
It is one of those last great hopes, but that's what God gives us, is hope. That's what we're here for, is to cultivate hope in the community.
Current pastor Brian Tabor has been leading this small congregation for the last 3 years. He's not surprised by the longevity.
They stick together through thick and thin, and we've had a really good bunch of people since we've been here, and we've actually added to the group that's here.
We had a little church over in Alma, New Mexico, and we run out of people. It was basically my wife and I and one neighbor left, so we decided to close church over there, and this church over here was more or less kind of what we were used to.
If someone dies in our community, our whole community brings food, and we have a funeral. And if there is a wedding, the whole community comes, and we bring food. We're very good at that.
Jerry Rush was married at this church. She's raised her family here. And like so many others, its foundation is set in her heart. And if you ask her about the future...
Well, I'll be here next week. I just picture keeping it going and letting it serve those who live here. And sometimes there's more and sometimes there's less, but there's always a need to have our church here.
In a town named Forrest, on a prairie without trees, it's that kind of optimism that makes even the doubters...
I think it's there to stay. I think it's there to stay.
...believe.
Now, a couple of things have changed since I first shot that story. There's a new pastor, and my grandmother has since passed, but the church is still going and planning a 100-year celebration this Sunday following services.